I know it's hard to believe this because the sun is currently out and shining, but it has been raining all day. In fact, it's been raining on and off for the last few days. Kind of annoying because that's coincided with the 1.6.8 update that DJI have put out for their Fly app, along with the new firmware for the Mini 3 Pro here. For those of you that have been watching my videos recently, you'll know that I have been having some quite serious issues with the Mini 3 Pro when it comes to the overall range of the flights and the image transmission back to the RC controller. Now, that is apparently one of the issues that DJI have addressed with this latest firmware and app update. So that is something I am going to test out. Now, because it could rain again at any moment, I am going to do this as a no frills video. I know a lot of you want to see how the drone is performing on this latest firmware, especially those who, like me, have been having some issues. So I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope it's helpful to you. And let's see now what the Mini 3 Pro is capable of on the latest firmware and 1.6.8. So here, first of all, is some footage from my previous flight before the update. Okay, so this is on whatever was before 1.6.8 and also the older firmware. And you can see that my drone is connecting and the controller is connecting to the 5.8 gigahertz band, which is really, really odd for this being a completely rural area when 2.4 gigahertz should by far and away be the strongest connection. So what I did was change it manually to the 2.4 gigahertz connection in order to see what the problem was. And it was clear that there was definitely an issue with this Wi-Fi band. And as you can see, I couldn't on the 2.4 gigahertz band even get to 200 meters. This was shockingly bad. And to be honest with you, it has been getting me down a little bit because these drones are expensive and they should be performing much better than this. But it answered my question as to why I wasn't normally getting to 300 to 400 meters without losing signal bars. It's because the OcuSync was constantly connected to the short band 5.8 gigahertz because the 2.4 clearly hasn't been working. So having got to my wit's end about this, DJI put out a firmware update. And the update notes specifically say they address transmission issues with the RC controller. Well, unfortunately, it's been raining so much, I've not been able to test this out until now. But as you've seen, the sun's come out. So let's see what the improvements, if any, are going to be. So that was the pre-update flight. Now that we've got the latest firmware and 1.6.8, we're going to do the exact same flight again and see how it compares. Now, I genuinely don't know what the results are going to be. I haven't tried this yet, so we're going to find this out together. I would say if you are enjoying this video or if it's helpful to you, please do consider subscribing to the channel for my future content. And thank you so much to all of you who do support the videos that I make. Right, let's get the drone in the air again. Right, so this is attempt number 1 on the new update and the new firmware. And spoiler warning, it was a complete failure. Okay, now not because of any range or transmission issues, but this is something you need to pay attention to if you have just updated. Okay, everything looks absolutely fine, but there's a problem. It didn't select a home point. Okay, there was no home point notification, so I thought, okay, we'll do it manually. And it kept coming up with this error. Now, there was nothing telling me that there had been an issue. Okay, if I just hadn't noticed not hearing the sound, I would have flown off and not even realized we didn't have a home point. So yeah, guys, please be really careful about this because you do not want to be flying without a home point. No matter what I did, it wouldn't work. It kept coming up with this error, and I did go through the settings, and to be honest with you, I had no idea how I was supposed to do what it was telling me to do, giving app update permissions. I tried fiddling about with the networks and just all sorts. I went through the main settings. If you guys know how to fix that error, then please do let me know. I couldn't figure it out. However, what I did do was reset all of the app data, which is kind of annoying, a bit of a frustrating solution, and I didn't know if it was going to work, but fortunately it did. Once I reset the app data, I was then able to find a home point as normal. In fact, you know, it did it automatically once I'd reconnected the drone. So yeah, not sure what that was about, but I had no warning or error about it. So just check, guys, if you're flying on 1.6.8 with the RC controller, that you are correctly getting a home point. Right then, attempt number 2, just to show you, I'm still using the RC controller, but I've done that app reset now. And fortunately, the home point issue, as I said, has been resolved. However, we're down to 79% and we still haven't been able to do this range test on the latest version. But before we go rushing off with that, let's just check that everything is okay. Despite doing a complete app reset, it actually kept all of the settings that I had set up previously. So I haven't got to go around fannying about changing all of that, which is really good. Unfortunately, another issue crops up now, one of which I'm going to have to sort out before we get on with the range test, and that is about to present itself here. When I turned the map on, I noticed the compass telemetry was completely off. Not so much the physical location of myself to the drone, that's correct, but the direction, the orientation of the controller in relation to the drone. You can see that tiny little arrow on the blue circle, not the drone itself, which is the big arrow, but the tiny little arrow on the side of the blue circle, completely off. I tried turning around 360 degrees and at no point would it face towards the drone. So it's time to bring the drone back again in order for a new calibration. And I'm also going to do an IMU calibration as well to make sure that we are good and set up properly this time for our 3rd attempt. Well, attempt number 3, we're down to 66% battery and the compass still isn't working. It's just not playing ball. The little arrow on the pilot icon at the bottom of the compass is not lining up with the drone. I tried fiddling about with the settings, it just isn't happening. The physical position is all correct, but the orientation of the controller is not being detected properly. Well, I don't know what's causing that, but I really want to get this range test done, so to heck with the compass for now. Okay then, right, 66 meters away, and we currently have a full set of signal bars. So at the very least, this is a pretty good start. But what happens now when we start to get some range? Well, remarkably, we don't seem to be dropping any signal bars. This I was not expecting. We're just crossing the threshold where we completely lost signal before, and we're still at a full set of bars. Exciting stuff. Oh, I've just realised though, I forgot to change it to 2.4 GHz manually, so it's probably gone to 5.8 GHz by default using the OcuSync. What's this? It hasn't. It's connected to 2.4 GHz automatically, just as one would expect it to in this low interference rural environment. It was certainly not doing this before the update. And what do you know? 300 meters, and we are at full signal range. 4 out of 4 bars. We're getting to 400 meters. Guys, this is a really, really exciting thing for me because I have not been able to see these results on the Mini 3 Pro, well, ever in the 2.4 GHz range. And we're now at 500 meters. And we are still at full signal. I truly am hoping and thinking that the problem has been fixed. And yes, the OcuSync is still correctly selecting 2.4 GHz as the Wi-Fi band, which is the long-range Wi-Fi band. And I know we're pushing a little bit on visual line of sight here, but I am so excited that I'm just not dropping any signal. That yes, I did take it to 600 meters, and we are still at full signal bars. Remember, previously on the 2.4 GHz network on this exact same path, we couldn't even reach 200 meters. That was shockingly bad. But now on this latest update, we are seemingly flying without any issues whatsoever. And perhaps most excitingly for me is that the OcuSync is correctly selecting 2.4 GHz. So it is detecting that as the more powerful band. I haven't had to select it manually, which is a good sign, because if I did have to do that, it probably means that it wasn't going to have a good connection. But 611 meters, I turn the drone back around to face me, which is when you tend to get the weakest signal because of how the antennae are situated. Now, at 610 meters, we still have a full set of signal bars. It's possible that the image gets a little bit choppy here. Remember, it is transmitting a 1080p image. But honestly, this is running very, very smoothly. We do drop a little bit of connection there, but the OcuSync quickly does its job and brings it back to full. I don't even have to adjust the altitude. And honestly, folks, This result is so much better than what I expected. First of all, I didn't even know if there was going to be any improvement whatsoever. Of course, I was truly hoping that there would be. But I expected even if there was an improvement, it would be a small improvement. I mean, if there was a hardware problem with the drone, just how much could a firmware update really fix? Well, it looks like there wasn't a hardware problem with the drone, and this was a software glitch that was causing those range issues this whole time. Because now, they seem to have been resolved. I am so happy. Right then, folks, well, there we have it. I am so happy right now. I have just flown on the new update, the new firmware. Yes, there are a number of issues, especially in regards to the compass, that I would like DJI to sort out, and hopefully they will. But the range issues appear to have been fixed for me. I honestly was not expecting such a vast improvement. I pushed out to 600 meters and we barely dropped 1 bar. This is such a change over how I was flying on the last update, and I couldn't even make 300 meters on the 2.4 gigahertz band. And did you notice as well, I'm sure you did, because I probably mentioned it in the commentary as well, that the OcuSync was automatically choosing 2.4 gigahertz as it should be in this rural environment. I'm so happy that it's done that, and I'm so happy that it seems to be working. I think this thing could have been pushed much further, but obviously we were really straining at the limits of line of sight, so I didn't want to go any further than the 600 meters. But there was no dropouts, and it looked like maybe the image was lagging a little bit on the screen. I couldn't tell because of it was quite bright. So if there is that issue still, then maybe that can be fixed. But this is definitely a big improvement. So please, guys, let me know what you think of this test, and also please do share your own experiences and your own results from flying in this latest update and with this latest firmware, especially if you were having problems as I was before. I was so close, I'm going to be honest with you, to just being at the end of my tether and sending this thing back if there was no improvement today, because it just wasn't performing as I knew a DJI drone could perform. So I'm so happy that this was a software related issue on the drone rather than a hardware related issue, or maybe a software related issue on the controller rather. But thank you so much for watching. Please do drop a like and subscribe for future Mini 3 Pro content, and I'll keep updating you guys on any further results as I continue to fly this thing going forward. Take care, everybody. I'll see you next time.